A millionaire humiliated her husband in front of everyone by throwing wine at him, unaware that he had signed their biggest contract. A glass of wine in his face, 500 guests, cameras. You are not worthy of being in my elite circle. You reek of poverty, screams Victoria Miller, the CEO who has just signed an $800 million contract. Hunter, the husband, stands silently, wipes his face, and leaves. 10 minutes later, the deal is off. An order from the owner of the partner company. Before we begin, write in the comments where in the world you are watching from today. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the deal of the decade, $800 million. The host's voice boomed in the conference center. 500 guests gave a standing ovation. Cameras flashed, journalists scribbled notes. Victoria Miller stood on the stage. A triumphant smile, her hand on a thick contract. 10 years of work had led to this moment. From a junior manager to the CEO of the technology company Caldell Systems. The company produced software for corporations, with a turnover of $150 million per year. But the Striant Corporation contract for $800 million changed everything. Entry into the international market, expansion, fame. Victoria signed the document with a flourish and raised it above her head. The applause was deafening. The Striant representative, a 50-year-old man in an expensive suit, shook her hand coldly, offered a brief, formal congratulation, and quickly left the stage. Victoria descended into the crowd, accepting congratulations. Investors, partners, and employees hugged her, praised her, and offered champagne. She drank, laughed, and savored her triumph. Suddenly, she saw Hunter. Her husband stood at the edge of the room, modestly dressed in a gray, inexpensive suit. He looked ordinary, unimpressive, and unremarkable. Victoria was always embarrassed by him at public events. Quiet, unambitious, worked as a consultant, earned little, lived, it seemed, on her money. Hunter approached and smiled softly. Congratulations, Victoria. A huge deal. You would be proud if only. If only? She interrupted sharply. If you could make one yourself, you can't. Never could. You stand by, watching me build an empire, and you're a consultant. A salary of $5,000 a month, pitiful. Her voice was loud. Those around heard, fell silent, and watched. Hunter turned pale, but his voice remained calm. I just wanted to congratulate you, to share the joy. We've been husband and wife for 8 years. Isn't it natural? It would be natural if you were worthy. Victoria raised her voice again. The crowd parted, forming a circle. Cameras turned, filming. But you're not worthy. Not worthy of standing next to her. You're not worthy of being in my elite circle. She grabbed a glass of red wine from the table next to her and swung it. Hunter didn't move, looking calm and sad. You reek of poverty and failure. Get out. The wine splashed in his face. Red splashes flew, soaking his white shirt, gray tie face. Hunter closed his eyes and froze. The room gasped collectively. The cameras clicked madly, the flashes blinded. Victoria stood, her hand holding an empty glass, trembling with anger. Hunter opened his eyes slowly, took a handkerchief from his pocket, and wiped his face calmly, methodically. Then he looked at his wife for a long time, sad. He said quietly, but everyone heard in the ensuing silence. You made a choice, Victoria. Live with him. He turned and walked to the exit. The crowd parted silently. Hunter left the room. The door closed silently. Victoria stood, breathing heavily. Her heart was pounding. The realization of what had happened rolled in waves. She poured wine on her husband publicly in front of hundreds of people. The cameras were filming. There would be a scandal, but anger drowned out common sense. He deserved it. Years of mediocrity, a lack of ambition in life, deserved humiliation. The guests exchanged awkward glances. Some whispered, others looked disapprovingly. Victoria raised her chin proudly. The show is over. Let's continue celebrating. The music started playing again. Conversations resumed, but the atmosphere had changed. Tense, awkward. Victoria sipped champagne, smiling tensely, ignoring the looks. 10 minutes later, a Trident representative came onto the stage. He took the microphone again. His voice was cold, official. Attention, emergency announcement. Trident Corporation is canceling the contract with Caldell Systems. Immediately by order of the company owner. Sorry for the inconvenience. He left the stage quickly and disappeared backstage. The hall exploded with noise, and Victoria stood there, not believing her ears. They are canceling 800 million. Why? The contract is signed. Legally binding. She ran after the representative. He walked quickly to the exit. Security guards nearby. Wait, explain why you're canceling? The contract is signed. The representative stopped and turned around. His face was stony, his eyes cold. The owner's orders. Trident does not work with companies whose executives publicly display disrespect. Goodbye. Gone. Security blocked Victoria's path. She stood there. The world was crumbling. 800 million vanished in 10 minutes. Reason: public disrespect. No connection to the Hunter incident possible. He's a nobody. A consultant. How can he influence Trident's decision? She returned to the hall. Guests quickly dispersed, avoiding eye contact. Journalists surrounded her, shouting questions. Ms. Miller, why did Trident cancel the deal? Is it related to the incident with her husband? Comment. Please comment. Victoria pushed aside the microphones, pushed her way to the exit, and got into the limousine. The driver was silent as he drove her home. She looked out the window, her thoughts chaotic. What happened? Why did everything collapse so suddenly? The phone rang incessantly. The board of directors, investors, partners. She ignored them, didn't know what to say. 800 million lost. The company at risk. Reputation ruined. She arrived home. The apartment was spacious. It had a city view and expensive furniture. She bought it with the money she had earned from the company's shares 3 years ago. Hunter lived here too, but Victoria rarely noticed. She worked late, arrived to sleep, and left early. Her husband was a shadow in his own home. Hunter was gone. He left after the incident and never returned. Victoria poured herself a whiskey, sat down on the sofa, and turned on the TV. The news was already showing the story. A scandal at the contract signing ceremony. The CEO of Caldell Systems publicly doused her husband with wine. Trident Corporation cancels an $800 million deal. They showed a video. Victoria screams, splashes wine. Hunter stands calmly, wipes his face, and walks away. Repeated several times. Commentators discuss, condemn, analyze. Victoria turned off the TV, threw the remote. Disaster. Her career is on the brink. All because of a momentary outburst of anger. But Hunter provoked, approached at the wrong moment, said something irritating. Is he guilty or not? An inner voice whispered doubt. He was simply sincerely congratulating. And she doused him with wine, humiliated him publicly. In front of the cameras forever. Her husband of 8 years supported her, didn't interfere, didn't criticize. And this gratitude, wine in her face. The phone rang again. Victoria's mother called from Europe. Victoria saw the news. What have you done? The whole world is talking. Shame on the family. Mom isn't tired now. Tired? You humiliated your husband publicly. Lost 800 million. Ruined his career. Why? He was irritating. He came at the wrong time. Irritating? Hunter is a kind man. He put up with you for 8 years. You worked around the clock, ignored you, considered you a loser. He was silent, supported. And this reaction, Mom, that's enough. I know what I'm doing. No, you don't. Call him, apologize, fix the situation, otherwise you'll lose everything. She hung up. Victoria threw the phone on the couch. Her mother was right, but her pride wouldn't let her admit it, or ever apologize to Hunter. She went to bed late, her thoughts haunting her. In the morning, she woke up to a call from the board of directors. An emergency meeting was in an hour, demanding an explanation. She went to the office. 15 board members were sitting at the table, their faces gloomy. Chairman Thompson spoke sternly. Ms. Miller, yesterday's incident was a disaster. The company's shares have fallen 20%. Clients are calling, demanding to terminate contracts. Trident canceled the deal. What do you say? I'll say, my personal life has nothing to do with business. The incident with my husband is my business. It does concern me when it's filmed and shown to millions. The company's reputation is ruined. You are the CEO, the face of the company. Your behavior reflects on everyone. I'll fix this, apologize publicly, restore the deal with Trident. It's impossible. They are categorical. The representative said, the owner's order is final. Then I will find other partners. The company will survive. Thompson sighed. I hope we give him a week. If the situation doesn't improve, the board will vote for his dismissal. Understood? Understood. She left the office, anger seething. A week to fix a disaster. How? Trident refuses to talk. The reputation is ruined. Clients are leaving. I need to find Hunter, talk. Maybe he knows something about Trident. The consultant does have connections. I called his mobile, no answer. She wrote a message. We need to talk urgently. He didn't read it. The day passed in chaos. Calls from clients, partners, the press. Everyone demanded explanations, apologies, guarantees. Victoria answered automatically, her thoughts far away. In the evening, she went home. Hunter was gone again. He disappeared after the incident. Where? With friends, at a hotel. I didn't even know the addresses of his friends. 8 years of marriage, I didn't know my husband's social circle. It's embarrassing to admit. The week started from hell. Stocks fell further. Clients broke contracts. The press wrote dirty articles. Miller, a tyrant at home and at work. Arrogance ruins a career from glory to ruin in a minute. Victoria desperately searched for Hunter. She called his work. The number was invalid. The consultant didn't know which company. He spoke vaguely. She wasn't interested. The shame grew. Ms. Miller, a comment about the divorce. The husband filed the papers. Journalists surrounded the entrance to the office with cameras, microphones, a hail of questions. 3 days had passed since the incident. The scandal wasn't dying down, it was growing. Victoria pushed aside the microphones and forced her way into the building. Security barely held back the crowd. She went up to the office, closed the door, and sat down at the desk. Her head was pounding. Secretary Rachel knocked on the door and entered with a folder of documents. Ms. Miller, 3 more clients have canceled their contracts. Losses amount to $15 million in 3 days. The board demands an emergency meeting. Not now, Rachel. Give me a break. I'm afraid there's no time. Thompson insists. In the conference room in an hour. Victoria nodded, tired. Rachel left, opened her laptop, and checked social media. The video of the incident has garnered 5 million views in 3 days. The comments are cruel and condemning. The arrogant Victoria Miller got what she deserved. I hope my husband gets a divorce and takes everything. Karma works fast. I couldn't take it anymore. My reputation is completely ruined. Recovery will take years, if at all possible. The phone rang. The company's lawyer, Robert Gray, answered. Robert, what happened? Victoria, I need to meet urgently. Information about Trident, important. What information? Not over the phone. Come to the office in half an hour. He hung up. Victoria frowned. Information about Trident. The reason for the cancellation of the deal. She went to the lawyer immediately. Robert met me in the office. His face was serious. He offered me a seat and poured me some water. Victoria, I was investigating, trying to understand why Trident canceled the deal. The official reason is disrespect, but I dug deeper. Aiden is a subsidiary of the investment fund Black Holdings. The owner of the fund is unknown publicly and acts through trust structures. What is this? The fact that the decision to cancel was personally ordered by the owner of Black Holdings, not Trident managers, the owner. Question: why is the owner of a multi-billion-dollar fund interfering in one deal? Answer: personal reason. Personal. I don't know the owner of Black Holdings. Are you sure? Robert handed over the folder. He dug up information. Black Holdings was registered 10 years ago. Assets: $2 billion. Invest in technology, real estate, startups. Your company has received funding for the last 8 years from shell companies associated with Black Holdings. Coincidence? Victoria opened the folder, documents, diagrams, financial reports. Indeed, several investors in Caldell Systems are connected to Black Holdings through complex structures. What does this mean? So someone from Black Holdings financed your career for 8 years. Secretly, through shell companies. Question: who and why? Valeria was silent. Her thoughts were whirling. 8 years of funding. Coincidence with the years of marriage to Hunter. Impossible. Hunter is a consultant. He earns $5,000 a month and doesn't own a $2 billion fund, but an inner voice whispered doubts. Hunter was always mysterious, talking little about work, disappearing to meetings, returning late, and explaining his consulting work and clients. Victoria didn't check, wasn't interested, and considered him a loser, unworthy of attention. Robert, can you find out the name of Black Holdings owner? He tried. The structure is perfectly hidden. Trusts, offshore companies, front directors. But he found one clue. He handed over a document. The trust fund that owns Black Holdings is registered in the name of Hunter Reed, your husband. Victoria stared at the document, disbelieving her eyes. Hunter Reed, the beneficiary of the trust fund and owner of Black Holdings, controls assets worth $2 billion. This is a mistake. Hunter can't be the owner. He's a consultant. I've checked 3 times. The document is genuine. It was registered 12 years ago, before your marriage. Hunter Reed created Black Holdings, set it up in a trust, operates through managers, and doesn't appear publicly, but he's the owner. Victoria stood there, her legs buckling. The husband she'd considered a loser for 8 years, the owner of a $2 billion empire, had secretly financed her career, orchestrated a contract with Trident, and then canceled it after public humiliation. Why was he silent? Why did he hide it? I don't know. Maybe he was testing you. Maybe he didn't want you to love him for money. But the fact is, he built your career. You ruined it yourself by humiliating him. Victoria left the lawyer's office. The world turned upside down, and she drove home automatically. Her thoughts were chaotic. Hunter was rich, not just rich, a billionaire, controlling an empire. And she screamed about poverty, failure, and unworthiness, in front of the cameras, in front of the world. She arrived home. Hunter was gone again. Where was he? Where did he live? The consultant rented an apartment and said, lies. He probably owns a mansion. Where? Called Robert. Find Hunter's address, where the real one lives. Urgent. An hour later I received the address. A mansion in an elite area. Cost $20 million. Victoria went immediately. She drove up to the gate. The territory is huge. The house is 3 stories. The architecture is modern. The security at the gate stopped her. What is your name? Victoria Miller, Hunter Reed's wife. The guard rang inside, got permission, opened the gate. Victoria drove in, parked at the entrance, came out, looked at the house, not believing it. Hunter lived here, didn't know her for 8 years of marriage. The door opened. Hunter stood on the threshold, dressed simply. Jeans, a shirt, his face calm, but his eyes cold. Victoria wasn't expecting a visit. I need to talk. Can I come in? He was silent for a second, then nodded and let her in. The interior is luxurious, but discreet. Expensive furniture, art on the walls, panoramic windows overlooking city. Victoria looked stunned. Sit down. Hunter pointed to the sofa. She sat down. He sat down opposite her, silent, waiting. Hunter, the lawyer, said, You're the owner of Black Holdings. Really? Really? Why did you keep quiet for 8 years? Why did you hide it? You wanted to know if you'd love me without money. You got your answer. You didn't love me. You despised me for 8 years. The words hit. Victoria was silent. Shame washed over me like a wave. For 8 years I was a fool, living with a billionaire without knowing. Victoria sat on the couch, her hands shaking. Hunter stood by the window, his back to her, looking at the city below. Not a fool, blinded by ambition, she saw what she wanted to see. A loser living off your money. The comfortable picture made her feel superior, but why lie? He could have told the truth. Hunter turned and looked at her coldly. Say what? I'm a billionaire, love me for that. I wanted to be loved for the person, not for my bank account. I pretended to be ordinary. A consultant, a modest salary, a quiet life. You showed your true colors, despised, humiliated, ignored. I endured for 8 years, hoping you would change. No change, only worse. The finale at the ceremony. The climax. Wine in his face, cries of poverty, failure in front of the world, in front of cameras. Victoria cried quietly, but it cut like a knife. For 8 years, she humiliated her husband. She ignored his kindness, patience, and support. She saw only his failure, despised him, and was proud of herself. You financed your career through Black Holdings. Yes, 8 years. Investments, contracts, partners. You organized everything secretly. You wanted to see if you would improve with success. It didn't. It got worse. Your arrogance grew with every million. She humiliated employees, harassed partners, and despised her husband. She personally organized the contract with Trident, her last chance. $800 million could have changed the company, your life. He hoped you would thank him, appreciate him. Instead, wine in his face. I'm sorry, I didn't know. If I had known, she would have loved me for the money, not for me. So he hid it, tested it, but failed the test. They remained silent for a long time. Victoria processed the truth. Hunter built her empire in silence. She destroyed it publicly. Justice is cruel. What now? Will you reinstate the contract? Hunter shook his head. No, he doesn't work with arrogance. Black Holdings doesn't invest in those who humiliate partners. Principles are more important than profit. You violated the main principle, respect. There is no restoration. But I apologized. I admitted my mistake. I apologized after I found out about the money. Insincerely, for profit. Before, when I considered him poor, there were no apologies. She kept silent, avoided, ignored the indicator of true feelings. Victoria couldn't argue, really. For 3 days after the incident, she avoided Hunter. She only sought him out when her career collapsed. Profit, not remorse. What do you want? Divorce, money, revenge. I don't want anything. I'll formalize the divorce. I don't need money. Revenge doesn't interest me. I want her to understand the lesson. Respect is the basis of everything. Without it, money, fame, success, emptiness. You had everything and lost it in a minute. Not because of the economy, competitors, or force majeure. Because of disrespect for your husband, employees, partners, or people. Arrogance destroys faster than incompetence. He stood up, walked over to the table, pulled out a folder of documents, and handed them to Victoria. We signed a prenuptial agreement 12 years ago, before the marriage. Remember, Valeria took it and read it. We really did sign it. Hunter insisted. She agreed easily. She thought she was protecting her money from her poor husband. Ironic. According to the agreement, property acquired before marriage remains personal. Everything acquired during the marriage is divided equally. But there is a clause, he pointed. If one spouse can prove a financial contribution to the other's career through documents, the contribution is deducted from the joint property. Victoria read the clause, and the chill filled her. Hunter invested millions in her career. The documents are there. They will deduct it from the joint property. It will be zero or minus. Everything is legally drawn up. Lawyers checked. You won't get anything in a divorce. The apartment where you lived was bought with my money before the marriage. The car too. The company's shares are yours, but the company will collapse without funding Black Holdings. You'll be left with nothing. Are you taking revenge? I'm not. I'm showing you the consequences. I spent 8 years building your career, enduring humiliation, hoping for change. It never happened. I'm retreating, taking away your support. You yourself, that's what you always wanted, without a loser by your side. Will you succeed now? Without a secret financier? We'll see. Victoria sat there, tears streaming down her face, but it was truly killing her. Success wasn't hers, it was Hunter's. He created it. She exploited it, took credit, and was proud. Now the support is gone. All that's left is naked ambition. Is that enough? Hunter, give me a chance. I'll improve. I'll become better. I promise. Promises are cheap. Actions are expensive. You promised to be a good wife for 8 years, but you weren't. Now you promise to change. Why believe? Because I've learned my lesson. It hurts. It's shameful. I don't want to lose you. You're not losing me. You're losing financial support, convenience, comfort. You never loved me. Admit it honestly. Victoria was silent for a long time. Honesty demanded recognition. Did she love Hunter? No. Did she value him? No. He was needed as a backdrop for a comfortable career that didn't interfere. Love? Never. Never loved. Forgive me. Thank you for your honesty. At least once. I'll file a divorce through lawyers. Sign the papers, and we'll go our separate ways. End of story. He stood up and opened the door. An invitation to leave. Victoria stood up and walked toward the exit. She stopped at the threshold. Hunter, one last question. Why did you get married? If you didn't love him, why did you put up with him for 8 years? Hunter looked sadly. I loved sincerely. I saw potential. I thought love would help me open up. I was wrong. Love doesn't change people. It reveals who they really are. You opened up, I saw. I was disappointed. I'm leaving. I closed the door. Victoria stood on the porch of the 20 million mansion. The world was completely collapsing. Miss Miller, the board of directors has voted. 13-4, 2 against. You are removed from the position of CEO, effective immediately. Thompson sat opposite, his face stony. A week had passed since the conversation with Hunter. A week of disaster. Shares had fallen 50%. Clients had left en masse. Partners had broken contracts. The company was on the brink of bankruptcy. Victoria sat silently, without resistance. She had waited. She had earned it. James Collins, the CFO, has been appointed interim director. He will try to save the company. You are asked to leave the office today. You will take your personal belongings, but leave corporate belongings behind, including your car, phone, and laptop. Understood? Understood. She stood up and left the office. The employees looked at her sympathetically, some with malice. She went up to the office, gathered her personal belongings, a photo of her parents, a gift pin, a notebook, and the rest of her company stuff. She left through the back door, avoiding the press. She got into a taxi and went to the apartment, but then remembered it was Hunter's apartment, purchased before the marriage. The right to live there ended with the divorce. The papers arrived yesterday. The divorce was finalized in a week. Quickly, without arguments, nothing to divide. Hunter took everything legally, and she called her friend Sarah and asked if she could stay overnight. Sarah agreed. A month passed in a fog. Victoria was living with Sarah and looking for work. Her reputation was ruined. No one was hiring. The CEO, who humiliated her husband, publicly lost the company in a week. A toxic resume. She got a job as a manager at a mid-sized company. The salary was $5,000 a month. Ironic, that's what Hunter the consultant earned. Now her salary, justice. She rented a small apartment in a working-class neighborhood. The contrast with the luxury of the past is enormous. The furniture was cheap, a view of the wall next door, but she earned what she had honestly earned. She worked diligently, silently, without arrogance, without criticism, without humiliation, learning humility. Colleagues were surprised. The former CEO was working as a manager without complaining. Victoria explained, "I simply deserve to fall. I'm learning to get back up the right way." 6 months later, Caldell Systems went bankrupt. James Collins didn't save it. Blake Holdings withdrew its funding. The partners left. The clients vanished. The company was sold off piecemeal. Victoria's shares depreciated. Victoria read the news, didn't cry, just waited. Hunter had essentially created the company. He had destroyed it fairly. A year later, she met Hunter by chance. A cafe downtown, cheap lunch. He was sitting by the window, reading the newspaper, drinking coffee. Victoria walked in, saw her, and froze. Hunter looked up, recognized her, and nodded politely. A timid woman approached. "Hunter, hello. May I sit down?" "Yes." She sat down across from him. They were awkwardly silent. Hunter put the newspaper down and looked at her calmly. "How are you? I heard you're working as a manager?" "Yes, modestly but honestly. I'm learning a new way of life, without arrogance and toxic ambitions. It's difficult, but right." "Glad to hear it. Progress." "Hunter, can I ask why you destroyed the company?" "The employees suffered. Many lost their jobs." Hunter sighed. "The company was built on lies. You took credit for other people's work, humiliated employees, deceived partners. The foundation is rotten. Destruction is inevitable. I accelerated, withdrew support, let it collapse. The employees found work. I helped personally. The Black Holding Foundation financed retraining and employment. We suffered less than if the company had dragged on for years, decaying. He helped the employees, but not me." "Why? You didn't ask?" "You kept silent for a year. Pride got in the way?" "Yes. It's shameful to ask a man I humiliated for 8 years, a man I deserve to suffer. Suffering isn't the goal. The lesson is the goal." She understood the lesson. Victoria nodded. She understood. Respect is the foundation. Without it, success is empty and temporary. By humiliating others, you humiliate yourself. Arrogance destroys faster than incompetence. I lived modestly for a year, worked honestly, treated people with respect. Life became poorer materially, richer spiritually. A paradox. Hunter smiled weakly. Not a paradox, really. Money comes and goes, but character remains. You are changing your character. Okay, go on, Hunter. We can start over. Not marriage, but friendship. I want to know the real you. Not the consultant, not the billionaire, but the person. Hunter was silent for a long time, then shook his head. Sooner, maybe later. A year is not enough for transformation. Keep working on yourself. If in a few years you remain modest, respectful, honest, we'll talk. I'm not making promises, I'm leaving a chance. He stood up, put the money on the table, and left. Victoria sat, looking out the window. A chance. Not a promise, but hope. Enough to keep going. 3 years later. Victoria stands in the office of a small company, looking at a team of 10. She is the founder and director. The company is small, but honest. It produces software for small businesses. Modest, but stable income. 3 years of transformation. After meeting Hunter, I worked diligently, learned, and grew. Promoted to senior manager a year later. Experience, connections, respect of colleagues. I quit after 2 years, started my own company, took out a loan, took a risk, hired employees, and treated them with respect. Fair salaries, decent conditions, a warm atmosphere. The business grew slowly but surely. No scandals, no toxicity, no arrogance. Clients are satisfied. Employees are happy. Partners respect. One evening, Victoria was sitting in her modest office, checking reports. The phone rang. An unfamiliar number. She answered. "Hello, Victoria. This is Hunter, remember me?" My heart started racing. "Of course I remember. How are you? I've heard good things about your company. Congratulations. Honest business. I respect you. Thank you. He was a good teacher. I remembered the lessons. I'm glad. I can offer a meeting to discuss cooperation. Black Holdings is looking for worthy partners. Your company is a good fit." "Seriously? You're not kidding?" "Seriously. I've been watching from afar for 3 years. It's changed. It's gotten better. Modesty, respect, honesty. I appreciate it and want to support it. Not as an ex-husband, but as a business partner." Victoria cried quietly, grateful. "I agree. We'll meet. We'll discuss it. Thank you, Hunter, for the lesson, for the chance, for the faith. You deserve it. Keep going. See you later." Victoria sat, looking at the phone, smiling through her tears. 3 years of struggle, humility, growth. The chance was given not to return to the past, but to create a better future. The lesson was learned forever. Respect is the basis of everything. Without it, money, fame, success, temporary emptiness. With it, modesty, honesty, dignity, eternal wealth.